Hi guys, welcome back to Alamat Short Stories, where we narrate short stories submitted or researched by our team to share with you all. This week, we have a short story about an exorcism witnessed by the author. This tale is called My Exorcist Encounter by Streak Shooter 31. I don't have any video, but this happened back in 1999, before cell phones even had cameras. My dad and I went to see his uncle up in the country. And this was in the Philippines, by the way. Now, his uncle was an albularyo, or in English, a traditional healer, a witch doctor, or whatever term you would want to call it. This wasn't the first time. This wasn't the first time we were going there. And I've been present during his healing sessions before. But this trip will forever be seared into my memories. For as long as I live. We were on our second day there, shooting the shit with my dad's uncle and cousins over some drinks. I wasn't drinking because my dad wouldn't let me drink yet, since I was barely 19 at that time. So I was just having Coke with ice. My dad's uncle wasn't drinking that day as well, because he said he was expecting a patient. The said patient arrived with her parents at around 3 p.m. Now, this girl was maybe 16 or 17, slim and petite, and was a real looker. Kinda looked like Maggie Q, now that I think about it. My dad's uncle ushered them inside, leaving us on the front porch. About an hour later, my dad's uncle called us inside. He told us to change into white t-shirts. I didn't have one at the time, so my uncle, one of my dad's cousins, lent me one. I didn't know what was happening, but apparently my dad knew what was going on because he gave me a look that said, "Ask your questions later." The patient and her parents were inside the room my dad's uncle used during his healing sessions, and before he ushered us in, he uttered some phrases in a language I do not know and rubbed some oil into our eyelids, ears, scalp, and cheeks. The oil smelled like coconut oil with something else mixed with it. We entered the room to see the girl dressed in a white ankle-length dress lying on a low bamboo bed with her parents on either side of her. She had her eyes closed, and at first I couldn't put my finger on it, but something changed within her. I looked at her face, and then I saw it. She looked old. Not old, but she looked 20 years older. She looked like somebody else. There was a porcelain pot by the foot of the bed, and when I looked in it, it was filled with centipedes, and they were wet with some kind of, well, something. My dad's uncle asked us to each take a limb and hold on tight. I grabbed one of her wrists, gently at first, because she was so light I was afraid I would break her wrist, but her father told me to grip her tighter. So I did, with both hands. When we each had a wrist and an ankle secured, my dad's uncle started to mutter under his breath while rubbing oil on the girl's forehead. The parents stepped aside and moved to the foot of the bed. My dad's uncle took some branches with leaves, dipped them in oil, and started sprinkling the girl with them. The girl let out this long, low growl. I may have let out a girly scream like a little bitch, or I may have not, but at that point, I was so scared that I had the death grip on her wrist. She started thrashing around. All the while, my dad's uncle was speaking to her in another language. I tried my best to keep her arm pinned to the bed, but it felt really strange, like she was on a raft. I looked down, and well, the bed was half a foot off the ground. I was so surprised that I lost concentration. The girl shook herself free of my grip and smacked me across the face so hard I was knocked out. Everything after this was relayed to me by my dad when I came to on a sofa in the living room. The girl's father took my place. The girl started talking back to my dad's uncle in a different language. According to my dad, this went for quite a bit, with the girl even laughing a couple of times. My dad's uncle then took a length of black sewing thread, dipped it in oil, and laid it across the girl's throat. The girl started choking and turned blue and stopped breathing. The parents, understandably, panicked. My dad's uncle told them to wait, and sure enough, the girl gasped and opened her eyes. Then she started crying. Turns out, the girl was cursed by a barang, hired by a scorned suitor. A barang in the Philippines is something worse than a witch. The centipedes inside the pot, they came crawling out of her vagina during the first hour we weren't in the room with them. A few days later, word got to us that another healer a few towns over died the same night the girl was brought to my dad's uncle. He died of strangulation. What do you think of this week's story? If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel to your friends and family. If you have short stories you would want me to narrate, send them over at mralamatph@gmail.com. Salamat guys, and see you in the next one.